Good evening, and today my third interview today is Chris. Hi, Chris. Would you like to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hello. First of all, thank you for having me, and especially after three or the third one today, that's madness, but I really do appreciate your time. I am Chris McDonald, and I am the author of the D.I. Erica Piper series, which is a set of police procedurals based in my hometown of Marple, which is sort of South Manchester, which is quite fun to write. And then I started writing a sort of cozy crime series. I've got those ones here. I came ill prepared for the Erica Piper ones, but I started writing the cozy Stonebridge mysteries, which are little novellas, and there's 5 of those at the minute. The most recent one being Mistletoe and Crime, which is my attempt at a Christmas story, which is quite fun to write as well. So those are my 2 series at the minute.
Did you always know that you wanted to write?
No. I went to uni and did primary teaching and English. So I guess there was something there that I knew that I wanted to do something with books or whatever. But the English side of things, I didn't like it because it was reading like the classics, and I just couldn't get into it. So I went the primary teaching way, and I'm still a teacher, so I only write at night time really. But yeah, I think I sort of had an idea at uni for a story, and that was like 13 years ago, which is really scary. But I never thought like I could do it justice, or like, you know, people, I really looked up to authors, and I've loved reading my whole life. So I thought, like, me reading a book, it's just, you know, it's not what, it's what other people do. And then I started playing football with a group of people, and 3 of them were authors, and I sort of discovered that they were normal people. And so I this idea that I'd had sort of came back to me, and I thought, well, maybe I will explore it. So I had a go, and I really enjoyed it. And then I sort of, during the first one, I put it away for like 3 months because you get the self-doubt of like, what am I doing? I'm wasting so much of my time doing something that, you know, probably will never come off, or what's the point of it and stuff. But I got there eventually, and it all worked out all right.
Yeah, I would say so. And how many books do you have to your name now?
So there's 3 in the Erica Piper series. A Wash of Black was my debut, Whispers in the Dark, and then Roses for the Dead. And then there are 5 in the Cozy Crime series. Because they're novellas, they're only about 26,000 words, so they're 100 pages or so. So there's 5. I'm contracted for 1 more, which I think is coming out March time next year. And then after that, who knows?
And if you were to be transported as a character into any of your own books, which book would you choose?
That's a great question. I think, well, I started writing the Stonebridge series, which is set in a town called Stonebridge, which is a fictional town, but it's sort of based on my hometown of Coleraine in Northern Ireland. And I started writing them when lockdown hit, the first one, and I was really homesick, and I had cancelled flights, and I couldn't see family and things like that. So I wrote those as a sort of way of being at home, but was advised not to call it Coleraine, because if I said the librarian was a killer, I might affect real lives. So I was I was sort of advised to make up a fictional town, but the streets are sort of based on it, and the shops and stuff like that. So I'd probably go there, because I can see, again, especially with Christmas coming up, I quite like to be at home, and I'm not going home for Christmas, so I'd go to Stonebridge, Coleraine.
And if you were to take a character out of any of your books out for a meal, who would you choose and what would you ask them?
Oh, sorry, it sort of went a bit blurry there. Can you repeat it? Sorry.
If you were to take any of the characters from any of your books out for a meal, who would you take and what would you ask them?
These are amazing questions. There's a character in one of in a few of the Stonebridges. So the Stonebridge ones are about 2 25-year-olds at the start, and they sort of age a little bit. Losers. They're like both. One doesn't have a job. One works in a retirement home. They're sort of meandering through life with no real mission. And they grow up, and it is nice to see them get responsibilities. But there's a 90-year-old man called Barry who lives in the retirement home, and he is a busybody, and knows everybody's business. If there's a sort of lull in their case, he's trying to help by looking at newspapers and trying to get dirt on people and things like that. So I'd probably take him out because he gets like sort of the funny lines, and I think he'd live a pretty cool life. There'd be lots of stories to tell. So I'd take a little minor character called Barry out for a meal.
Do you hide any secret jokes or messages in your books that only a few people would understand?
I don't think I have done. No, I can't think of any. I try to keep it sort of, because I hate that in a book when you read something, or if it's like, I don't know, you can tell that it's meant for someone, then I think, but I don't know, and it's obviously meant to be funny, so if I don't get it, then it annoys me a bit. So I don't think I have, but maybe I am guilty of my own pet peeve, but I don't think so. So I think I'm okay.
I love this question of crime writers. If you were to be a killer in a book, how would you kill your victims?
Oh man, well, I read so many of those. You know, like the true crime magazines and stuff like that. I think I'd like to. I think I'd probably do something with acid where, well, I'm not good with blood, so I'm really squeamish, which is, it's odd to write crime with the research and stuff, but I think putting a body in like a vat of acid so that there's very little left would be a pretty good way. I guess that's after you've already done the crime, so I guess somewhere I wouldn't get myself too, like a hit and run maybe, which is a bit of, it's not great, but I don't think I'd like the feeling of stabbing or shooting or something. Yeah, I think if I could try to keep my hands as clean as possible. Hit and run with a stolen vehicle, and then it won't be linked back to me.
You realise if you're going to put them in acid, then you're going to have to get them up off the road and into a vehicle to then transport them to acid.
That's true. Have you ever seen Jeepers Creepers?
Yes, I have.
From years ago, and they just keep reversing over and going again. Maybe that's what I do then. So it's like a squished mess.
Yeah. And
then drive off, abandon the car, go home.
Set fire to it. Just FYI, you know.
In like a deserted warehouse. Yeah. Oh, yeah. You've got ideas here. You're like picking little holes. Yeah. What would you do?
Well, when I was asked a question, I said I'd stab someone 100 times. And then when I told someone else that, they said there must be a reason for that. So I was like, okay, specifically 100 as well. Yeah. I was like, yeah, I don't know.
And do you think you could keep in control of the 100 times, or do you think?
Well, you'd have to be fairly controlled, because otherwise you'd be just re-stabbing. Yeah. You know, you'd have to cover quite a lot of the body to get 100 in, I think. So, yeah. And not be squeamish. Yeah. And be prepared to be absolutely covered in blood. So, yeah, I don't know.
And as a forensics person, then would you know how to get away with that, or?
I would do my best. I think I could probably. Acids are good. Yeah. Anyway, as long as they've got no false teeth or false limbs, yeah, they tend to be giveaways.
You'd have to pick your victim carefully. Is the message that we're putting out there?
Yeah, absolutely. And veering slightly away from thinking about how to kill people, if you were fictionally murdered, what fictional detective would you want to solve it?
Oh man, that's a really good question. Who would I like to solve my own crime or my own murder? Just gonna have a quick look at my books. I guess Rebus is pretty, although he's pretty old now, isn't he? Because Ian Rankin ages him. So, but he's solved a lot of crimes. So I guess he would be reliable, and at least I know I'd probably get justice. I love Olivia Kiernan, who writes the Frankie Sheehan books. Frankie Sheehan's a cool detective, and Olivia's a great writer. So I think she's quite young, and I think she could do the legwork on me, whereas Rebus might be starting to fall apart a bit. So yeah, I'll go for Olivia Kiernan's Frankie Sheehan.
And if you were to team up your lead characters with detectives from other books, who would you choose?
These are such good questions. My publisher, Red Dog Press, the guy that runs it, Sean Coleman, is an author, and his books, they've got a detective who is sort of supernaturally, which I quite like. So I think if a human, or she is a human obviously, but if a detective is having trouble with what they're seeing, then maybe the supernatural can guide them. So I'd say maybe Sean Coleman's character. Yeah, I'd go for that. And then at least it's not just, there's a bit of otherness looking out for me.
But what's the most interesting thing you found researching your books?
Well, like I said, I'm quite squeamish, so I've seen stuff that I've not enjoyed particularly. One of the, I don't know if you could call it funny, but I wanted to know about exit wounds of bullets. And I foolishly YouTubed like exit wounds, and it was a very unemotional American man who had an array of guns on this massive table, and then like a big hunk of pig bottom, I think, on it a bit far away, and he would show the gun to the camera and say what it was, show you the exit wound and the entry wound, walk back and do it. And it started with like little handguns, which is what I wanted, but it lasted about an hour, and he got into machine guns, and it was just the weirdest thing, and it looked like he was taking no joy in it whatsoever, which was really strange. So that's probably the weirdest thing that I can remember, because it just looked like it was not fun. But you'd think if that's what you're doing in a video, you'd present it with a bit of character or whatever. But yeah, he was very he almost looked bored by it. It was weird.
Yes. And I'm kind of intrigued and kind of want to watch that.
Yeah, I've got it on my bookmarks now.
And what's the most incriminating thing on your search history?
Oh God, probably that video saved onto my bookmarks. I often think like how to get away with, or I always think if you type in like ingredients for a bomb or whatever, that's like an instant red flag that surely someone is looking at. Or I wrote a book, Whispers in the Dark, which was the second Erica Piper, and it was a bit about it came sort of it sort of focused on a suicide a bit, and it was after I love a band called Frightened Rabbit, and the singer killed himself not too long ago, and it was sort of, one of those ones, do you write it, or is it, because obviously it affects a lot of people and stuff, but I thought I could do it justice, and I think I did, and I put a little thing at the end saying, if anyone wants to talk, I'm here, or there's lots of things. But when I was researching that, I typed stuff in, and the Samaritan thing would come up being like, do you need to talk to someone? Like, no, I'm writing a book. Like, it's fine. But yeah, I felt like sort of maybe I am bordering on something here if it's like constant. I feel like someone's going to come to my door and be like, we've tried to contact you via the computer, but we're here now. So yeah, it was fine. But it was sort of one of those ones that I thought, am I sort of qualified to write about it or not? But in the end, I think it went okay.
Yeah, I imagine that's quite tough as well, actually.
Yeah, especially because obviously I've got no experience of it, so I sort of felt like, yeah, if there was someone that had been through it and I didn't want to bring stuff up, for if they had. So yeah, I sort of thought long and hard about it and discussed it with a lot of people and stuff. But yeah, like I say, I think I've done it enough, sensitively enough that it reads okay.
And what's the most fun scene that you've ever written?
Well, the Stonebridge ones are quite fun because they're, like I said, they're two sort of idiots bumbling around a town solving crimes, and they're intentionally sort of a bit funny. But I think it was Whispers in the Dark again, where I wrote a scene that I knew would upset a lot of people, and it was fun to write it, knowing that that was going to do that to people, and I was right. I got a fair few messages calling me an assortment of names. So it was fun to write knowing it, but I also cried every time I read it in the edit, and I thought, oh, am I doing the right thing? But yeah, I knew it would touch a nerve with some people, so it stayed in, and it did.
Oh, it's fun. Yeah, I've gone to message an author in the early hours of the morning, going to call them very horrible names that they were just teasing, and they thought it was hilarious.
I always think it's amazing, like how you can make other people's emotions go all over the show just by words, and stories. And I think it's an incredible thing that that people can do. So I just wanted to see if I could do it.
Do you have any phobias apart from blood, I guess? And would you write about them?
I hate spiders so much that we were clearing out the shed once when we moved in, and the guy had left like a bar, like he sort of turned one of his sheds into a pub. So there was like a sort of MDF bar that I was holding, and my wife was underneath it unscrewing stuff, and a spider came near me, and I dropped it, and a nail narrowly missed her head. And I would probably let go of that bar again if the spider came near me. So that is how terrifying. And I think she thinks sometimes that I'm putting it on a bit, but genuinely it makes me shake when I think about them. So spiders, any sort of creepy crawlies, really. Yeah, spiders are the worst. I think I could, like the I'm a Celeb trials, like I don't really watch it, but if it's on in the background and I see it, I just think, oh, like that thing where they put your head in a thing and then drop. Not a chance. Scorpions. They put scorpions in the other night. Surely that's just
weird. Just madness. What are they thinking? Just no.
They must get an absolute shed load of money. But I don't think I genuinely said I don't think I could like have one spider crawling on my face for £1 million. I'd rather not. I'd be traumatized for the rest of my life.
I spoke to a guy in Australia, and I think he lived between Australia and New York, but his fear was also spiders. So why did you go to Australia? What were you thinking? And it's like, yeah, they're huge. They're the size of dinner plates. I'm like, I know, I've seen the pictures. Yeah. What are you doing? Just no.
And did he give you a reason why, or just?
Well, I think he kind of got stuck there because of lockdown. No. But he went there willingly. I'm assuming he wasn't bundled there, so he must have got on a plane knowing where it was going.
Yeah, that's on him.
Yeah, absolutely. No sympathy. Weird. Won't ever understand. Oh. What was I just going to ask you? What's your favourite first as an author?
My favourite first? That's a great question as well. I'm about to have an audiobook come out, and it's my first audiobook. And it comes out on the 1st of January. And I listened to it, and it's just, I think it's the most proud of anything I've done, hearing my words, but someone else reading them. It's very cool. And the guy, I don't think the company knew when they were doing it, but the guy who read it is from Coleraine. So it's like, and that's obviously, like I mentioned earlier, where Stonebridge is modelled on. So it's like someone from Stonebridge reading, so the accent's right and the sort of intonation, and he's got the sort of rhythm of the jokes and stuff. So yeah, I've listened back to it, and it was just the most surreal, cool thing. So I think, yeah, that's my favourite thing, and I'd really like, because I think they've only taken one of them on, so hopefully it does well enough that the rest will come as well. Yeah, hearing that back was surreal. Yeah.
I believe I am kicking the book tour off for that on the 28th of December, maybe. I'll have to check. Yeah. Yeah, it was all secret when I was messaging whoever the lady was, and she's like, "There is going to be a blog tour, and do you want to do it?" I'm like, "Hell yeah, of course I do."
Oh, class, thank you.
And
Yeah,
she's like, "Do you want to kick it off?" I was like, "Yeah, sure."
that's class. Thank you for being part of it. It's really cool. I just think like these things that you're doing, and the people that give up time to read and review and stuff like that, it's just mind blowing. And it's something that I don't think I'll ever get used to. So yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, we're not quite as weird as authors, but we're not far off, I don't think. Probably a silly question, but have you made lots of author friends since you started writing?
Yes, I'd like to think so, and I think that's been the best part of it. I've got to the point a few times where I just thought, what is the point? I've been stressing after a day at work, or when there's reports to write instead of doing books. I just think I could be spending my evenings relaxing or whatever. So, but it's the community that keep me around. I think gonna Harrogate for the first time was amazing, especially after doing the podcast, where it was a nice way to get to know people, because my book came out a week before the first lockdown hit, so I was sort of very book out and then don't meet anybody. So I was lucky that Rob Parker, he did my book launch, and through him I've met a load of people, and they're all very, very cool. It was and not just authors, like bloggers and readers and publishers and publicists, and the list goes on. Just everyone that I've rarely come across someone that I've not liked. It's a nice place to be part of.
Yeah, I'm trying to get Rob to come and be interviewed. I keep asking him.
I'll put in a word.
Yeah, I went to the Christmas something or other the other day, and he was wearing a Christmas hat, and I said he looked cute.
He's a good-looking man, is Rob Parker. And as Sean Cole, like the two others that I do the podcast with are both good-looking men, and
well, you're hardly ugly. You're a nice-looking man yourself, so you have no worries in that department. Don't worry.
That was me fishing.
And do you get a lot of feedback from readers?
Yes, which is really nice. Obviously the reviews on Amazon and stuff are nice, because I think there's some sort of algorithm that once there's a certain amount, something happens. I don't really understand it, but I think Twitter's just a class thing for people being in touch. And like you said, there are people that I know that there's stuff going on with that I'll check in with sometimes. So it's become very much a, not just you read my books, tell me about them. It's I'd like to think that it's like a two-way friendship thing now. So I was lucky enough that I managed to meet some readers as well at live things, and it's been really, really lovely. Really nerve-wracking actually, because like I said before, I just think it's amazing that people give up time to read like words that I write. I think it's bonkers, and I feel really honored. So meeting them in the flesh and and trying to show how thankful I am, I think it's a really cool thing. I think Twitter has really helped with, obviously it's got its downsides and people can say all sorts of nonsense. But I think it's been a good way to get to know people during, whilst everything's been locked down. So yeah, we've got a lot of time for it.
Yeah, and if you had any strange or unusual feedback?
I've had so everyone I guess gets hung up on their 1-star reviews, and I've only had 2, I think, and only one has left words to go along with it. Somebody called my first book twee, which kind of means like cozy and like a bit blah blah blah, but it's like the first thing that happens is a woman gets her throat slit on a ice rink, and it's very, I thought, I didn't think it was, when I wrote it I thought, oh, like a bit grim, and then when it came out people were like, oh, it's sick. So I was like, oh, but yeah, maybe because I'd read it so many times in the edit and stuff, I'd sort of lost the shock factor. Then I was like, somebody called it twee. I was like, that doesn't fit at all. But Will Carver, who is an amazing author, told me that you're not an author until you get a 1-star review. So I took it as a sort of badge of honor at the time.
Yeah. Twee. Oh, yeah, people are weird, aren't they?
Very strange.
When you are doing your edits, what's your most overused word or phrase?
In my first one, I kept writing the, when someone had said something they wanted to leave, I'd say they turned on their heel and left. And my my editor said it feels like there are people spinning all over the show when they're leaving the room. He's like, people don't generally go and they're gone, they sort of, they just turn and walk, and you don't need to say it every time. So he took all of them out. So now if I see it in a book, I take a photo of it and send it to him and say, like, other people say it, it's not just me. So he absolutely, I still type it, and if I'm going without like thoughtlessly, like just typing, and I'll see it and I'll think, oh nope, I have to take that out. So yeah, it still does creep in there, but it's almost like I know now that he won't like it and he won't have it. So yeah, that got taken out. Apart from that, I don't think there's any. Well, there probably is tons, but none that are conscious. But yeah, that's the one that I very much think, God, I can't write that. Gonna get my wrist slapped.
Yeah, I think you'd know anyway. I think if your editor shouts at you often enough, I think you pretty much pick it up. Yeah. Was it this year's Harrogate you went to?
Yes. Yeah, the summer, yeah.
Yeah, I was there as well. When did I see you?
Oh no, I was only there this Saturday. And were you there this Saturday?
Yeah.
Ah, what a shame. Yeah, I got quite drunk quite quickly. And
I think a few people did.
Yeah, like it's human contact again. Yeah, and then I met some people that I like Mick Herron, who I love his books so much, and I sort of accosted him while he was eating a burger, and then I woke up the next morning and thought, oh man, I've like met my writing hero, and I was like, I'll let you get back to your burger. So yeah, I'm not drinking since then.
I saw Ian Rankin at a pop-up event about his book that he finished for William McIlvanney, and then and tried to speak to him, and I was with the Hobeck people, and they interviewed him, and then I tried to see if he'd come be interviewed, and he was quite grumpy. And then the next morning I was sitting drinking coffee and reading, and he just said good morning as he walked past. I was like, hi. Okay.
Yeah, he's quite a like a massive name, isn't he? So when you just see him standing around, you're like, I can't really go near him. And then there's an author called Susie Holiday, amazing author, and she had one proof of her book and I was walking past to go to the toilet at one stage, and she said, will you hide this for me so that I don't know where she didn't know where it was, so that she could say there's a proof somewhere around Harrogate. So I hid it near the toilets, and I got a message from her being like, not near the toilets, obviously. And so then I went back to speak to her, and she was with Ian, and I was a bit like, oh, crime royalty.
No, but it's terrifying, isn't it? I used to be shy, and I don't think I'm particularly shy anymore. And then I went to Harrogate, and I'm just like, I'm not going to speak to anybody. It's terrifying.
Yeah, it really is. Like, just seeing Richard Osman casually like stroll past is like, ugh.
Yeah, I know. We tried to get a selfie with him, and the woman who was with him, I don't know who she was, it's like, no new selfies.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he was fine. He didn't care. He was cool. But she was like, no. Yeah.
That's a shame. I don't like it when stuff like that happens.
No, I don't know if he was off somewhere or something, but yeah.
Yeah.
It's fine. Totally over it. It was ages ago. It's fine. It's completely forgotten.
You just don't watch Pointless anymore.
He's very funny. It's very annoying. Yeah. He's very funny. And I think he was interviewed by Mark Billingham on the Sunday, and Mark Billingham is just hilarious anyway. So yeah, it was good.
Yeah, I didn't see. I went to the Agatha Christie thing on the Sunday morning, and then I had to leave. My train was earlier, so I didn't get to see it, and I was gutted that I missed the Mark Billingham thing.
Yeah, he's just funny.
Yeah, really nice man.
Yeah. I guess you might have answered this already, but if you're able to spend a day with any author, dead or alive, who would you like to spend a day with?
Oh, dead or alive, that's really good. I've never read an Elmore Leonard book before this year, and I've read I think 3 or 4 now, and I've got a Bert's Book subscription, so every month I get a little gift wrapped, ribboned Elmore Leonard book, and I think he had quite interesting views on writing rules. So I think he said never start a story with the weather, and I think he'd be good because his books are incredible. So I'd quite like to pick his brains, I think. So at the minute, him, because that's who I'm going to kick off.
When you're not working and not writing, how do you like to spend any free time, if you get any?
I would like to spend more time writing. My children, I've got a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old that take up quite a lot of time. And I think sleeping. My 3-year-old, I don't think has slept a whole night yet. So I think if I'm going to be greedy, like uninterrupted sleep for as long as I could, or a big lie-in, or generally getting some energy back. It would be. In fact, I might just not write at all and just. Maybe this question has changed my. Maybe I'll stop writing and just go to bed at like 7. That's like the way forward, maybe. So this is me officially announcing my resignation from writing.
No, then everyone will blame me. Oh, I'd have to ask different questions if that's the case. Everyone's going to just go off and quit. If I was to ask your nearest and dearest what your most annoying habits are, what would they say?
At the minute, we got new doors, and I leave them open all the time, and my wife hates the cold. Like I will be sitting in shorts and t-shirt, and she will be full slippers, 3 blankets around her. So if I go to the kitchen even to get like a drink and don't close the door behind me, she'll say, close the door. So at the minute, that's the big one. And also at the minute, we've all got colds, and not COVID, but when I get a blocked nose, I snore a lot, and I think at the minute we're like shoving each other. Whoever wakes up, the other one's snoring, so we're like, just shut up. So snoring and leaving the doors open at the minute.
Sounds like a fun household to be in.
The rest of the time we're lovely to each other, but yeah.
What's the funniest place you've ever woken up, or the strangest place?
Strangest or funniest place? I think I've always made it back to my bed. I'd really love a cool story here, but I think I've always got back to my bed. So there's no gossip with this one.
Okay, what's
Mum,
the funniest?
You're watching my own bed.
What's the funniest thing that's ever happened to you then, or the most embarrassing?
The most embarrassing, I've not thought, this probably happened when I was about 7, and I don't think I've thought about it very much since, but as soon as you said embarrassing, that's the first thing I thought. I had a tooth out when I was 7 to make space for other teeth, I think, or else it was rotted already. And when I woke up from the gas, I asked the probably 30-year-old anaesthetist person if they'd marry me. And that, I've not thought about that. So that must be buried deep, and it's come out. So yeah, that's awful. I'm sure through my awful romantic teenage years, there's been stuff, but I think that tooth thing is come back and surprise me. So there you go. That's like psychiatrizing me, or
Yep, love it. It's quite funny when I ask boys that question, particularly, their stories tend to involve alcohol, and they tend quite often to involve nakedness.
Whereas mine's a childhood trauma with teeth.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that says more about you, actually.
Yeah, I think it does.
If you're able to travel to any period of time, either forwards or backwards, where would you like to go?
question. I'd quite like to go to Victorian England at the minute, because about a year ago I had a story idea set in Victorian England, and then I sort of set about researching a bit and then quit, because reading about it and trying to get stuff, like, you know, when you almost don't know where to start, like what's useful, what's not. So I'd quite like maybe just to walk around Victorian London for a day, and then maybe I get what I need. Also, we're about to do the Mayans at school, and I know nothing about them, so I'm gonna have to do a lot of reading over Christmas. So maybe I'd go there and watch their, although they did like sacrifices and stuff, which I wouldn't be cool with. So maybe I'd go to like a nice day when they were being cool to each other, and then I'd learn all I needed, and that would be that. So yeah, Victorian England or the Mayan times. Where would you go? What would you do?
I would go to the 1980s, but as a like 18-year-old, and just to see the music, to go to Live Aid, see Queen, see David Bowie, see Michael Jackson.
That's a better answer. I'll come with you to the 80s.
And I was alive, but so I missed out. And I swear my mum has never forgiven me for missing Live Aid, but you know, it wasn't my fault. She got pregnant, so
yeah, that's on her, really.
Yeah, exactly. She can hardly blame me. Yeah, bless. One thing that I've noticed about your books is the covers. So I had to ask you about the covers when I spoke to you. They're so cool.
Yeah, and I can show a few if you want. So I've got the Stonebridge ones here. So yeah, I feel lucky because Sean at Red Dog he's got a cool eye for stuff, and when we were working on the very first series, A Wash of Black, he sent a few ideas back and forth, and you could tell, like, I loved them, and you could tell he wasn't happy with them, or he'd tweak it, or he'd say, actually no, it doesn't work because it doesn't tell enough about the story or something. So I mean, I would have gone with the first one and loved it, but he was very good at saying, actually, give me another week and I'll think about it and stuff. So he's got a very good eye. He's a very clever man. But when I saw the first Stonebridge one, the Curious Dispatch of Daniel Costello, I think every author loves their covers, but that just absolutely blew me away. And then each subsequent one, I've said that's my favorite. Then the next one, no, actually, that's my favorite. So yeah, he keeps. I don't know how he does it. The covers that Red Dog do, I think because they're an indie, they've got less of a pattern to follow, or I don't know. There's a lot of covers that I think are tried and tested and work for a particular genre, but I think they're free to explore whatever they want to do. So, and I think it's, that's one of the things that they really do put a lot of effort into. They put a lot of effort, the editing side and stuff as well, massive. But yeah, I think Red Dog are killing it with the covers at the minute.
Who Sharon Bairden's with as well.
Yeah,
because both of her covers are incredible as well, aren't they?
Yeah, really, really good. Yeah, whatever seems to come out. There's the Jonathan Whitelaw ones as well. So his Hellcore ones got re-released, and they're just, I think it's just so cool. The devil going on holiday. It's like you can see it on the thing. So yeah, I think if you go to Red Dog, you're in safe hands.
You mentioned briefly that you do a podcast. Do you want to tell us more about that?
Yeah. So we do a weekly podcast called the Blood Brothers Podcast, where we, very similar to this, except there's three of us because I could not do this by myself. My hat is off to you completely. So myself, Rob Parker, and Sean Coleman, my publisher, I keep him on a pet lead. We do very similar to this. We talk to an author each week, and we ask them not quite as good questions as yours. Yours are, I've had to think a lot. We generally talk about their latest book. We talk about publication, and we've got usually questions from readers. And it started off during lockdown, where I think my publisher's PR person said, do any of your authors have a podcast? And he was like, nope, but by this afternoon we could do. So we very quickly got one together, and we've done it every week since. So I think we've done something like 77 episodes now. And I've been very lucky to meet some of like my favorite authors, because it started off with me sort of booking the people. So I got in touch with people that I like reading and that I thought would be cool to talk to. And that was very much the first half of the year. And then as it sort of grew a bit, publicists started getting in touch to say, like, would you like this person, or would you like to speak to this person? So I've talked to people that I probably wouldn't have read their books beforehand, but I loved them. So it's been a really cool way to meet and to find new authors that I've really loved. And then I've gone back and read everything they've done. So yeah, it's been a really nice thing. And yeah, it's made me feel much more part of the community. So yeah, it's a nice thing to do.
Yeah, if you authors are not bad, you're all right, I suppose, as a species.
I still think, like, I get very starstruck, and every week I leave sort of feeling very motivated or inspired by something that they've said, or a piece of advice they've given, or something. So I find it so useful every week, where I go away and just think, you know, I want to crack on with whatever I'm doing. So it's been great for everything.
Yeah, I agree, actually. Yeah. So are you working on anything at the moment, and do you know what you're going to do next?
No. Well, I am working on stuff. So I've got the 6th Stonebridge to write, which when I started them, I was contracted for 6. So it's the kind of final one that I know that's definite. And we've had sort of chats about more. So I would quite like to do it. I've got a private investigator novel set in America that's done and just needs a massive edit because it's very much first draft nonsense. But I need to get Stonebridge out of the way first, and then I can go to that. And I started writing something last night that I hadn't planned on, so I've got like 1,000 words of something completely new. So I just need to sort of prioritize and stop going all over the show. I'm blaming it on like teaching end of term tiredness, because I cannot settle on anything. I'm just exhausted. So I keep trying to do the easy thing of, because it's always nice to start something new, but I think actually do what you're being paid to do.
Yeah.
If Sean watches this back, I am working on Stonebridge 6. That's my answer. I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing, like a good boy.
Yeah. Gold star for you. Well, you may be relieved to know that I don't have any more questions for you, unless you think there's anything I haven't asked you that you want to tell us.
No, this has been the coolest thing I've ever done. I think like the questions have really made me think about stuff that I've not in a long time, for good or bad. And yeah, I think it's been class. I've had a lovely time. So thank you for having me. I've really, really appreciated it.
You're very welcome. So before we go, would you just like to tell everyone where they can find out more about you, where they can find your podcast, and where they can find your books?
Yes. So the podcast is available on Apple Podcasts and Spotify and all the usual places. The best place to get my books, so they're available on Amazon and stuff like that. But if you go to the Red Dog Press website, because it's an indie press, buying through their store makes a massive, massive difference to what they can do. So they can keep going, they can take on new authors, they can keep buying more of my books, which good. And it comes in a little red package, beautifully wrapped and stuff like that. So they take care. And I think, yeah, it's nice to get a little special package along with it. So yeah, reddogpress.co.uk, and then navigate from there.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah, this has been really cool. So yeah, thank you very, very much.